Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to the session. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to start today Bhakti-sastri study of Bhagavad-gita as it is chapter 1. It's a very auspicious day today, 𝗪𝗵 and on this day we are beginning the study of Bhagavad-gita. So that is so nice. We'll begin the session by chanting the Mangalacharan prayers. You can all recite with us. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitanscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurdashe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataruryascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we thank you once again for being a part of this session today. We are going to start, as I said, discussion on chapter 1 of Bhagavad-gita. I had posted in the group that you had to read the first 15 verses of this chapter. Before I begin with the verse number 1 of this chapter, let me tell you something. How Bhagavad-gita plays a very important role. In all the Vedic literatures, the ultimate knowledge which is given is the knowledge of the living entities' love or service to the Supreme Lord. That love or service is called bhakti, devotional service. And of all the Vedic scriptures that exist, there are two literatures which describe, define, explain this loving service in best capacity. And those two scriptures are Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. These two scriptures are considered the essence of all the Vedas. Bhagavad-gita is the preliminary study of this knowledge, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the advanced study of this knowledge. Same knowledge. Bhagavad-gita is the basic study. Srimad Bhagavatam is the ultimate study. So when Lord Krishna, he was present on planet Earth, we all know, supported from different scriptures, that Lord Krishna is worshipped even by the great demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Even they desire his mercy, his loving glance. So Lord Krishna personally comes once in a day of Brahma to the planet Earth and gives his personal association to living entities, jivas, so that they can develop love for him, right? But when Lord Krishna is winding up his pastimes, completing his pastimes on the planet, he thinks about those who are going to come in the future, that they will not get the personal association of Lord Krishna. They will not be able to see Lord Krishna. They will not be able to witness his wonderful pastimes. And for the benefit of those people, Lord Krishna makes an arrangement. That arrangement is Bhagavad-gita, right? he puts his own devotee, Arjuna, into illusion. Arjuna, who is a very, very learned person, who knows all the Vedic scriptures, who is one of the best human beings, he falls into illusion, in Maya, seemingly, so that Lord Krishna can help Arjuna come out of Maya. And in that way, show all the people of this world how to come out of Maya. What is the way to come out of Maya? So Lord Krishna uses Arjuna as an instrument, and the end result is Bhagavad-gita, which we all get to study, right? So we are beginning this subject today, this study today, seeking the blessings of all the previous Vaishnava Acharyas, Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana, Srila Vishvanatha Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Ramanujacharya, Srimad Acharya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has given us Bhagavad-gita as it is. So as I have already spoken before, all of you who have been attending Gita-sastri class, we will be reciting 2 verses along with the other Mangalacharna verses that we recite in our Gita study, and I request all of you to memorize these verses, right? These are very simple verses. If you try, you can easily memorize. You are able to see the screen, yes? So the verses are Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Fullara Vindayat Patra Netre Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalita Gyanmaya Pradipaha. I'm sorry, I had to show the full screen. Somehow I was showing the half screen. Now you can recite it again. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Fullara Vindayat Patra Netre Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Gyanamaya Pradipaha Prapannam Parijataya Totra Vaitraika Panaye Gyanamudraya Krishnaya Gita-sastri Namaha. Krishna's compassion. I already spoke about it. So someone, okay, let me read now. Later on I'll ask you to read. Purpose of the Gita. Why did Krishna leave the Bhagavad-gita? Out of his compassion, so that after my disappearance, people will take advantage of this Bhagavad-gita. As I instructed my dear friend Arjuna, they will also take advantage and become free from the clutches of death. This is the purpose of Bhagavad-gita. Lecture September 7, 1975, Vrindavan. So this is a lecture by Srila Prabhupada, where he says that the purpose of Bhagavad-gita is to help us win over death. And for that reason, Krishna used Arjuna. Now, why am I telling you this? Because when you study Bhagavad-gita as it is, sometimes it will appear to you that Arjuna is a fool. And sometimes it will appear to you that Arjuna is a pure devotee of Krishna. Right? And then we will get confused. Does Arjuna know or he doesn't know? What is he doing? Is he acting or is he actually in illusion? The reason for that is Arjuna is playing both the roles. Sometimes he's playing the role of a devotee, and sometimes he's playing the role of a person who does not know. Right? Because in truth, he knows Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knows, right? In truth, he knows that the activity that a living entity should be engaged in is devotional service. He knows. But he is pretending to not know. So sometimes that pretension comes forward and sometimes that pretension goes backward. Right? So we'll, in the whole Bhagavad-gita, we'll be dealing with 2 types of Arjuna. One type of Arjuna is a conditioned soul. Another type of Arjuna is a pure devotee. Right? because Krishna is using Arjuna, right? He's using Arjuna. So we begin with the first verse of the first chapter. What method I'll be following is this. Whatever number of verses that I decide to teach in one session, in the beginning, we will recite all of them in Sanskrit. Okay? You may not know how to recite in Sanskrit, but if you follow slowly, you will learn. All right? We'll recite all the verses in Sanskrit. In that way, we'll get some hold of what is the subject matter, what is the content that we need to discuss today. Then we'll take one verse at a time and go into the depth of that. All right. So today we aim to complete first 15 verses of the first chapter. We'll recite all these 15 verses in Sanskrit. I recite, you can read along with me, just the Sanskrit. So what I'll do is that I'll share the screen of the verses with you. If you have the book, well and good. If you don't have the book, you can follow the screen. Text 1. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta mamaka pandavaschaiva kim akurvata sanjaya. Going to text 2 then. Sanjaya uvacha drishtva tu pandavanikam vyuham duryodhanastada acharyam upasangamya raja vachanam abravit. If you are not able to follow, don't worry, slowly you will learn. Pashyatam panduputranam acharya mahatim chamum vyuham drupada putrena tava shishyena dhimata. Are you able to see the text or is it too small? Are you able to see the text? Yeah, now it's better. Atra shura maheshvasa bhimarjuna samayudhi yuyudhano viratascha drupadascha maharatha drishtaketuschekitanaha kashirajascha viryavan urujit kundibhojascha shaipyascha narapungavaha yudhamanyuscha vikranta uttamojascha viryavan saubhadro draupadeyascha sarva eva maharathaha asmakam tu vishishtaye tani bodha tvichottama nayakama sainyasya sangyartan tan bravimite bhavan bhishmascha karnascha kripascha samitinjaya ashwatthama vikarnascha somadattistatthaivacha अन्ये च बहवः शूरा मद अर्थे त्यक्त जीविताः नानाशस्त्र प्रहन्नाः सर्वे युद्ध विशारदाः अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकं बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितं पर्याप्तं त्विदम् एतेषां बलं भीमाभिरक्षितम् अयनेषु च सर्वेषु यथा भागम् अवस्थितः भीष्ममेवाभिरक्षन्तु भवन्तः सर्व एव हि तस्य सञ्जनयन् हर्षं कुरु वृद्धः पितामहः सिंहनादं विनद्योच्चै शङ्खं दद्मौ प्रतापवान् ततः शङ्खाश्च भैर्यश्च पणमानकगोमुखाः सहसैवाभ्यहन्यन्त सशब्दस्तुमुलोऽभवत् ततः श्वेतेरयैर्युक्ते महती स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधव पाण्डवश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदध्मतुः. Last verse. पाञ्चजन्यं ऋषिकेशो देवदत्तं जनञ्जय पौण्ड्रं दद्मो महाशङ्खं Dhima karma vrikodaraha. Reciting the Sanskrit verses are very, very helpful in making our mind peaceful. If we recite Gita shlokas, we can experience that easily. So now we go to the verse number 1, right? Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Some of you who are not familiar with Sanskrit may find the methodology that I am adopting this time a bit difficult in the beginning. But in your later study of scriptures, it will be very helpful, right? So you do the hard work, stick to the format which we are following this time, and learn nicely. So look at the screen, I am showing you the Sanskrit verse, the first verse. Dhritarashtra Uvacha, right? Dhritarashtra is the name of a person, and Uvacha means to say, to speak. So the first verse is being spoken by Dhritarashtra, who is the king, and is the father of the Kauravas, the 100 sons, headed by Duryodhana. And what is he saying? Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamakaha pandavashaiva 𝗪𝗵𝗿𝗶 Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra is asking a question to his secretary, whose name is Sanjaya. What is the question? He is saying, my sons and the sons of Pandu, have assembled. Samaveta means assembled, come together. Where? In Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is the name of a place. What is that special about that place? It's a dharma kshetra. It's a religious place. So my sons and the sons of Pandu have come together in a religious place called Kurukshetra. Yuyutsavaha, to fight. They have come together to fight. Question is, 𝗪𝗵𝗿𝗶. What did they do? That's the question. What did they do? That's the question. Now, this sets the background of Bhagavad-gita. Actually, the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna in Bhagavad-gita begins from verse number 28 of chapter 1. Verse number 28. That's where the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna begins. So, the previous 27 verses, that sets a background to the whole story. Right? Let me ask you a quick question. Anyone who knows the answer can raise the hand. Who compiled the scripture Bhagavad-gita? Yes, Anju Mataji. Unmute, please.
Vyasdevji, Shri Vyasdevji.
Vyasdevji compiled the scripture. Very good. Okay. So Vyasdev compiled the scripture Bhagavad-gita. And this Bhagavad-gita was not this Bhagavad-gita. The scripture Mahabharata, of which Bhagavad-gita is a part, was narrated for the first time by whom to whom? Now this is a tough question. The scripture Mahabharata was first time told by whom to whom? Shweta Mataji. Okay. Anyone knows the answer to this? Bindu Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
It's by Narada Muni to Ganesha.
No. Not Narada to Ganesha. Okay. Harneet Mataji, you know the answer to this.
By Krishna Bhagwan to Surya.
No, that is Bhagavad-gita.
So?
Who spoke Mahabharata for the first time? Not Bhagavad-gita, Mahabharata. Who spoke Mahabharata for the first time and to whom it was spoken? Mahesh.
Spoken by Maharishi Vedyas to Lord Ganesha.
No. That is a different, that is dictation. He asked him to write down. But when I say public assembly, who spoke first time the whole Mahabharata, the story of Mahabharata? Okay, SGD, Prabhu, what is your full name?
Prabhu, Srinivas Gopal Prabhuji, Prabhuji. My laptop name I changed. I could not because my laptop doesn't have camera. The answer is this Vyadvyasa Shishya. I just forgot his name. Is Vaisampayana to Janmajaya.
Very good. All right. Thank you. So for the first time, Mahabharata was spoken by a disciple of Vyasadeva whose name was Vaishampayana. And he spoke it to Maharaj Janmajaya, who was the son of Maharaj Parikshit. Right? He spoke it to Maharaj Janmajaya. That recitation of Mahabharata was recorded by Vyasadeva. Understood? It was spoken by Vaishampayan to Janmajaya, and that was then recorded down by the sage Vyasadeva. What we read. So you see, now Bhagavad-gita is a part of that whole story. So the story has to flow, isn't it? It cannot jump from one thing to another thing. That's why these first 27 verses of first chapter of Bhagavad-gita are just filling the gap, filling the story. So it starts with a question by Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra is asking this question, and this question is a very important. Okay, you want me to repeat the name? I am putting the name in the chat box. Vaishampayana to Janmajaya. Okay. So now to the slide of Dhritarashtra's words, and we analyze Dhritarashtra's words. First thing is, Dhritarashtra's words show us that he is an unjust king. Unjust. He's not a just king. He's not a good king. He's a bad king. Irresponsible king. How? Srila Prabhupada gives in the purport. Both the Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra belong to the same family. Right? They belong to the same family. But Dhritarashtra's mind is disclosed herein. He deliberately claimed only his sons as Kurus, and he separated the sons of Pandu from the family heritage. This shows the mind of Dhritarashtra. How do we understand? Look at the Sanskrit now. Mamakaha Pandavaschaiva. This is the Sanskrit. Okay. Mamakaha means my sons. Pandavaha means sons of Pandu. Now, those of you who are born in Indian culture, who are from Vedic tradition, who have some idea of Vedic tradition, you know that in India, in the bygone ages, there was the culture of joint family. Still now it is there. Correct? And in joint family, the son of your brother is considered almost same as your son. Right? In fact, if you have to address your brother's son, you will not say my brother's son. You will say my nephew. Isn't it? My nephew. Because the relationship is direct. So here Dhritarashtra could have said my sons and my nephews. He could have said. But he did not say. What did he say? My sons and the sons of Pandu. Now what's wrong with this? The wrong thing is that before Dhritarashtra is a father, he is a king. And when someone is a king, then all the citizens of the kingdom are son and daughter, children. Right? All the citizens are sons and daughters. Not that my son and his son, all the citizens are children. That's the duty of a king. A king means he should be able to see every single citizen as his own child. Then he can become a good king. He will not be biased. He will not have favorites. He will be able to do justice to all. Right? And that should also be the quality of a leader. That should also be the quality of a teacher. That should also be the quality of any person who is a senior. That anyone who is junior should be considered as a child, a dependent, right? Without any partiality. So here the mind of Dhritarashtra is being exposed. He was having ill motives. He was not having broad-minded nature, a broad-minded heart. He was too attached to his own sons, and he was not doing the justice that was required to be done to the sons of Pandava. We come to know that from Dhritarashtra's words, right? That's what we come to know. And then he asks the question, what did they do? So Srila Vishvanatha Chakravarti Thakur, he explains the mind of Dhritarashtra, what was going on in the mind of Dhritarashtra. Those of you who have done Gita diploma course must have seen this slide before, and those who have not done, for them it's new. But anyway, we'll discuss this slide again. What do you see in this slide? You see 4 kinds of emotions or mental states on the left side: desire, doubt, fear, hope. All these 4 things were going on in the mind of Dhritarashtra. Desire was there, doubt was there, fear was there, hope was there. What was the desire? Very simple. What was the desire? Kauravas should win. My son should win. That is the desire. Correct? My sons should win. What is the doubt? What is the doubt? That battle may not happen. Battle may not happen. And my sons may not win. That's the doubt. Battle may not happen. My sons may not may not win. Why is he thinking like that? Please try to understand. He's thinking like that because he knows Kurukshetra is a religious place. So after going to Kurukshetra, my son's mind may change. Duryodhana may start thinking, why should we fight? After all, Yudhishthira is such a nice brother. Let us come together, make a deal, make a pact, stop this battle, and we both happily go back home. There may be a change of mind. Why there may be a change of mind? It's a religious place, it's a holy place. By going to a holy place, Duryodhana may become a holy man. That's what Dhritarashtra is thinking. Right? He's thinking like that. And he's also thinking that because it's a religious place, that place will support the religious people who are the Pandavas. So even if the battle happens, the Pandavas will win. The Pandavas will win. So he has this doubt. What is the fear then? Fear is battle will not happen. Why? Because his sons may decide to not fight. That's why he was afraid. And finally, hope. Hope is what? Battle will not happen and still the Kauravas will win. How? The Pandavas may think, forget this kingdom, forget this wealth, forget this power. Give all to Duryodhana. We go to the forest. Now, can you understand if all these things are going in the mind of a person, how much in anxiety that person would be? Conflicting thoughts, conflicting emotions. Fear is there, hope is there, doubt is there, desire is there. And that is the state of mind of a materialistic person. A materialistic person cannot have a peaceful mind. A materialistic person cannot think of one thing at a time. The mind is running haywire. It's in all directions, scattered. They are happy, at the same time, they are also very, very miserable. All different things are going on in the mind. That's how it happens. And Dhritarashtra is a typical example of that. Right? So what's wrong with all this? The problem is that because of his deep attachment to the kingdom, he is going through this miserable state. Dhritarashtra had a problem. He was very obsessed with the idea that I should become the king. From his very childhood, he was so obsessed. He was supposed to become the king, but he did not become the king. He was blind. His younger brother became the king. But his obsession, his desire to become the king was so strong, he could not let go. He could not, for so many years, he could not let go that desire that I want to be the king. That desire remained. Though he became an old man, still that desire remained. He was obsessed with that. And because of that obsession, he's thinking, my children should not compromise. They should not negotiate. The battle must happen. The battle must happen. They should not come back without fighting. And can you understand? When people become materially attached, they even don't think that what they want is at the risk of the lives of others. Dhritarashtra wants to be the king. He wants the throne, and that is going to come at the risk of lives of millions of people. And he's okay with that. He's totally fine. No problem. No problem. He's okay with that. He's even okay with the idea that this battle will happen and some of my sons will die. No problem. At the end, if Duryodhana wins, the kingdom will be mine. That is the reason his name is Dhritarashtra. Rashtra means kingdom, and Dhrita means one who holds tightly. One who holds tightly. That's called Dhritarashtra. Very, very attached to the kingdom. Very attached to the throne. Tightly holding it. Doesn't want to leave. Right? Very special character of Mahabharata. At the cost of his son's death, he wants to become the king. It's okay. Right? What is the lesson for us to learn? Material attachment causes anxiety and makes one blind to dharma, duty, or religion. Material attachment. It makes one blind to dharma. One forgets what is my dharma, what I should be doing. Dhritarashtra forgot his dharma. The whole reason why Mahabharata happened is not because of Duryodhana. It's because of Dhritarashtra. Because of him. He had the power. He could control. But he did not. And the reason is material attachment. Very severe attachment. Right? But then Dhritarashtra is doing something interesting for all of us, for the students of Bhagavad-gita. What did he say about Kurukshetra? Kurukshetra is a dharma kshetra, right? Isn't it? So I'll tell you something. It's a concept which will come again and again in Bhagavad-gita study. Mother Saraswati, who is the goddess of learning, she sits on the tongue of those who speak. Okay. And sometimes she makes people speak something which they don't really understand why they're talking. And there is a hidden meaning in that. There is a hidden meaning in that. So here Mother Saraswati, she made Dhritarashtra speak the word dharma kshetra. By telling that, Dhritarashtra is declaring, he is making a declaration. What is the declaration? What will be the outcome of the battle? the outcome of the battle will be that the Pandavas will win. Why the Pandavas will win? Because the battle is happening in 𝗪𝗵𝗁. And Pandavas are religious people. And Krishna is there with the Pandavas, who is the father of religion. Right? So in the first verse of Bhagavad-gita, in the words of Dhritarashtra, the result of the battle of Kurukshetra is being spoken. That the result will be the Kauravas will lose, the Pandavas will win. And Srila Prabhupada explains that by telling this analogy in the purport. Right? This analogy. 4 things. Farmer, field, crops and weeds. Are you all able to understand? Yes. He is speaking about this analogy in the purport. 4 things. Who is the farmer? Krishna. Which is the agricultural field? Kurukshetra. Who are the crops? Pandavas. And what are the weeds? Kauravas. What is the analogy? In an agricultural field, the farmer, while cultivating the crops, uproots the weeds, removes the weeds. Right? Isn't it? Likewise, Krishna, who is the father of religion, he will establish Yudhishthir and the other Pandavas in the field of Kurukshetra, and he'll uproot the Kauravas. He will uproot the Kauravas. Because Kurukshetra is the place of dharma, which produces dharma. A rice field produces rice, a wheat field produces wheat. So Kurukshetra, which is the place of dharma, it produces dharma. That is explained in this first verse of Bhagavad-gita. Okay. Now we'll go to the next section, which is hearing Bhagavad-gita, and here you have to do an exercise, a group exercise. So we will divide. There are total how many students? 79 participants. So I'll make 10 groups of 7 to 8 students each, and we'll give you 5, maybe 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes should be sufficient, or 8 minutes to discuss. Okay, so how you should be doing is this. First of all, when you join the room, make one person as the group leader. All right. By mutual agreement, make one person as the group leader or group representative. So when your chance comes to give the answer, the group leader will give the answer. Not all will give the answer, because there's 80 people here. So the group leader will represent, and different times different devotees can become the group leaders. All right. And you have to discuss these 2 things first. I'll also put this question in the chat box, and you can make a note of it. Discuss the different reasons why a person, even though hearing, reading, or studying the message of Gita, may not get the ultimate goal or result that one is supposed to get. Okay? I hope the question is simple and easy, clear. Discuss the different reasons why a person, even though hearing, reading, or studying the message of Gita, may not get the ultimate goal or result that one is supposed to get. And second part of the question is, then discuss what could be the reasons for Dhritarashtra to not have properly heard and understood the teachings of Gita. Dhritarashtra heard Bhagavad-gita, right? He heard, but he did not understand. He did not understand. So what could be the reason for Dhritarashtra to not understand Bhagavad-gita? We are looking at Dhritarashtra's character now. So now we are trying to understand also from Dhritarashtra what mistakes one can do while studying Bhagavad-gita or hearing Bhagavad-gita. Anyone has questions about this exercise? Could not understand. Ratna Lekha Gopi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Question 2 says, why did he not understand Dhritarashtra when he heard the teachings? But the verse was the first one spoken. So I presume that he hadn't heard it by that time.
No. Later on he's going to hear, right? He's going to hear. So we know that he hears the whole Bhagavad-gita, and then at the end the dialogue gets concluded. We already know that, isn't it? Correct. So now itself we want to know why Dhritarashtra, even though he heard the Bhagavad-gita, he did not understand.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, okay. Bindu Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Actually, in introduction, they says that we should accept Krishna as the God. Unless that, we cannot understand the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay,
so Dhritarashtra have not
no, I'm not asking you for the answer. You have to discuss with the group members and give all the possible answers, right? I'm asking if you have a question about this exercise.
Exercise question is I'm new to this Zoom, so could you assist me or something room or you're set to go?
No, we'll do that. We will do that. Yes, we will do that. We'll put you into the rooms. Okay, so I think the question is clear with all, right? Yes. Now I'm putting you into different rooms where you can, with your members, discuss, right? So we make how many rooms? We make 10 rooms. And I give you 8 minutes. Or should I give you 5 minutes? 5 minutes are sufficient? 5 minutes are okay? All right, 5 minutes. Sita Mataji. back. Thank you for coming back. I hope you had a nice discussion. And you must have got many points. And if I take all the points, this session will just end up with that. So we'll not take all the points. We'll try to take maybe 1 or 2 points from each group, right? And because we have to cover the other verses also, right? Other verses also. So we have to do something. Okay. The group number 1. Who is leading group number 1? Rajat. Is it Harneet Mataji or Rajat? Rajat.
Prabhuji, I am Rajat. I'm the leader for the room 1.
Group number 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, please tell what is your point.
Prabhuji, first for the question number 1, why we are not able to understand the Gita. First is we are not a devotee of the Krishna.
Okay, so the one point is that one is not a devotee of Krishna, cannot understand it.
Can I give more points? Or
one more point? Yes, probably you can.
And then complete surrender is not there.
Okay, so not a devotee, no complete surrender. All right, good, thank you. Can you go to group number 2 now? Who is group number 2 leader? Ashok Prabhuji, are you group number 2 leader? Ashok Prabhu. Who is group number 2?
I'm in group number 6 probably.
Okay, group number 2 is Vrinda Mataji. Group number 2. Okay. Group 6 can go then, yes. Ashok Prabhu, if you are leading group 6, you can tell.
Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Yes.
The first question is why even after reading, hearing, and we are not able to get the exact message. The first is when we hear the Bhagavad-gita, we don't try to read it or understand it from the point of view as it is. We have got our own apprehensions and interpretations about Gita. So the crux of the Gita doesn't go into our knowledge. The second question is why Dhritarashtra was not able to understand, because he had material attachment with him. He was material attachment with the sons. And while listening the entire Gita, he had only his son in mind, that how to get him and his sons to get the kingdom. And second, he was not surrendered to the Lord. So he was not able to get the knowledge.
Done, yes, no complete surrender. Thank you. Gita-sastri Keshavi Mataji, which group is that? Mataji, you raised your hand. Harneet Mataji.
Prabhuji, Bhagavad-gita is a living scripture and it will reveal itself to someone only if the person has faith.
Must have. Does not have faith and cannot. Very good point. Yes.
I can say one more point.
Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So the gunas of the person will also have an impact. So if the person is not completely surrendered and the guna and the person is doing it in one of the 3 modes of nature, then that will have an impact and the person will not be able to understand.
Okay.
So unless we are studying it through the disciplic succession with the bona fide acharya, we will not be able to understand.
Okay, so because of influence of Rajaguna and Tamoguna, cannot understand. Thank you, Mataji. Good points. Anju Mataji.
Krishna Prabhuji, unless and until we listen in the disciplic succession. So the disciplic succession is very, very important to understand. So parampara and the disciplic succession is my point.
Any other point?
And the other point that why Dhritarashtra couldn't do it was because he was though he was materially attached, as you said, but he was also mentally and physically blind. So even spiritually he was blind, and physically also he was blind.
Spiritually blind. Okay, good point. Vidura Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So for the first question, we came out to he was not able to discriminate.
Okay.
Second point, he was in his comfort zone.
Okay.
Third point, senses are touched. For the second question, he was jealous, hatred, envious. These are the points we got.
All right, Prabhu. Jealous, hatred.
Envious, hatred.
Yeah, okay. Good points. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mahamantra Krishna Prabhu. You have to unmute yourself, Prabhuji.
Am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. So, Prabhuji, we discussed in our group. Actually, we had very short time because we are, I think I am very new and others are also maybe a little new. So in short, we made a conclusion for the question number first, that first of all, any knowledge, we are listening from whom? Whether the person who is delivering the knowledge, he has the proper understanding of that knowledge or not. So my point is that my guru, whoever is my guru, so if he is having the proper understanding of the course what he is delivering, the student, most probably students will also understand. Same like what I can explain from my experience, that fortunately I have got the Guru and Guru Parampara in my life from the Prabhupada ji and the Vaishnava Gaudiya Sampradaya. So Prabhupada ji is totally surrendered soul and he's a very pure Vaishnava. So his only intention to give the devotees or the forthcoming persons.
Fine. So this
So,
non-bona fide speaker will not understand.
Non-bona fide. So in short, and second thing is, Prabhuji, suppose for me, if the guru is perfect, but the student, what intention I am trying to understand that knowledge. So if my intention is something wrong, means I want to apply this knowledge for some bad reason, so I will not try to understand the right reason of this.
So for Dhritarashtra, you can say not proper intention.
Exactly. Right? So the answer of the question number 2, this is why I understand on behalf of my group that Dhritarashtra. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Gita-sastri. Are you not able to unmute yourself? Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I'm representing group 7 and everybody contributed, and this is not just my opinion, it is from the group opinion, because Dhritarashtra was not in the mood of Arjuna, like with humbleness. There was no humbleness and there was no submissiveness. And he was a completely conditioned soul. And those are the points, a little bit slightly different for the first question. And for the second question, he was totally, extremely materially attached to his sons. And those are the points, and which are almost similar to what others said. His material desires were extremely strong for his sons.
Okay, thank you. Good. Bhakta Hassan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. I think for the first question, for you to not reach your goal, I think you have to, the Bhagavad-gita is a divine book, and to have opportunity to get access to Gita, I think you have to put everything you hear in the Gita into practice, because it's a divine book from Krishna, and there's no mistake in Bhagavad-gita. And so if whatever you hear, if you don't put them into practice, I don't think you will reach your goal. Because, for example,
Okay,
if your
got
mother
the point, Prabhu. No practice. Any other point?
yeah, and for the second question, I think Krishna know what he is doing, so everybody has to play his part so that he'll be able to establish what he wants humanity to understand. Because
okay, so can you quickly conclude why Dhritarashtra is not able to understand?
Excuse, I can't hear you well, please.
Can you quickly conclude why Dhritarashtra is not able to understand Bhagavad-gita?
Yes, because he was so attached to the material body.
Yeah, that point is covered. That point is covered. Material attachment, right? Okay, thank you. Paramita Mataji, you can now unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The first question, the answer is like that, is because of our attitude towards observing the lectures. Those are delivered in Gita, because we don't properly observe all this is told in Gita, but we like to observe partially. And also we have the strong material mire. I think this point is already covered. And also the obedience, we don't have the proper obedience towards it. And for the second question, because Dhritarashtra, who was the unjust king, so, and he was self-centered also. So for this unjust king, it was not possible.
Okay, good points. Fine. Did we miss any group leader? Did we miss any group leader? Did we miss any group leader? No, we did all right. So very good points you have brought out. Why Dhritarashtra or anyone may not understand the message of Bhagavad-gita, even after studying, reading, or hearing. Very good point. So now Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana Prabhu, he gives us the answer. 3 qualities a person needs to understand Bhagavad-gita. These are the 3 things which one must have to understand properly Bhagavad-gita. First is, should have faith. Second is, steady in following the path of dharma. And third is, has conquered the senses. Now, for Dhritarashtra, what was the problem? He was not following his dharma. His dharma as a king. He was not following his dharma properly. And another reason, he was not really trying to control his senses. Of course, not having complete faith also. So these are the 3 things which Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana Prabhu says that a student of Bhagavad-gita must have 3 qualities to properly understand Bhagavad-gita. Right? And another big mistake which Dhritarashtra did because of that, you see, in case of Dhritarashtra, please try to understand one thing. He was very fortunate because Sanjaya was a bona fide speaker of Bhagavad-gita. Not that Sanjaya was, a materialistic speaker of Bhagavad-gita. Sanjaya was a pure devotee of Krishna, isn't it? Right? So, like some of you mentioned that the speaker of Gita has to be bona fide, then one can understand. So, Sanjaya was a bona fide speaker of Bhagavad-gita. And still Dhritarashtra could not get the message of Bhagavad-gita well. Why? The reason is because of Dhritarashtra's offenses at the feet of the Pandavas. Dhritarashtra had committed Vaishnava Parad, offenses at the feet of Pandavas. One of the offense that one can do towards Vaishnavas is being envious towards the Vaishnavas. And while being envious towards them, we may act in a wrong manner. So Dhritarashtra was unknowingly committing Vaishnava Aparadha by siding Kauravas and going against the Pandavas. He was committing offense at the feet of the Pandavas. And because of that, though he was getting pure knowledge from a pure person, that pure knowledge was not entering into the heart. It's not entering into the heart. Was not bringing the transformation, was not bringing the change. Right? It's not bringing the change. So we understand a lot. We understand a lot from Dhritarashtra, his character. Okay, I'm not taking any questions now. We'll take questions at the end of the presentation. So after this slide, I give you 5 minutes break. You can take a break, come back after 5 minutes. We'll go to the next section of our session. All right, so you can take a break.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Welcome back. So now we'll proceed with the discussion of verses 2 onward. Verse 2 onwards. In this new section from verse 2 to verse number 11, which are how many verses? 9 verses, right? Duryodhana, what does he do? That is being explained, right? He explains that. Who explains that? Sanjay explains that. Dhritarashtra asked a question to Sanjay. What did my sons and the sons of Pandu do? So Sanjay is giving the answer. First is giving the answer. What did Duryodhana and the other sons of Dhritarashtra do? That is given in the verses 2 to 11. And then he'll speak. What did the sons of Pandu do from verses 14 onwards? Okay, that is explained. So here is the next section. This is the next section. Duryodhana's fear and diplomacy. Verse 2 to 11. Dhritarashtra is thinking, my son will fight or not fight, will they negotiate or not negotiate, like that is thinking, isn't it? So Sanjaya first of all removes the fear from the mind of Dhritarashtra. Removes the fear. That don't worry, you are blind and your son is also blind like you. Even if he goes to holy place, this fellow is not going to change. Like a dog's tail. A dog's tail cannot be made straight, right? It is always curved around. So your son is like that. You are blind, he is also blind. Like father, like son. So don't worry, Duryodhana is not going to change, it's not going to compromise. So Sanjaya first tells this. Why Sanjaya tells this? Please try to understand. Sanjaya, the role of Sanjaya is this. He is a preacher. He knows Dhritarashtra is a very, very materialistic person. And Sanjay is getting an opportunity to speak the message of Bhagavad-gita to Dhritarashtra. It's an opportunity, right? It's an opportunity that he can speak the message of Krishna consciousness to Dhritarashtra, who would not want to hear the message otherwise. But Sanjay knows one thing. When a person is too much troubled by fear, a person cannot hear good instructions. For all those who like to preach, they should know one thing. You can preach to a person only when a person is in a particular state of mind. When a person is in too much of anxiety, when a person is too much frightened, when a person is too much materially disturbed, when a person is too much into suffering, you cannot preach. Whatever you speak will not enter inside, will not go inside. Like giving an example. Narad Muni, he spoke the message of Srimad Bhagavatam to 𝗪𝗏. 𝗪𝗏 was the mother of Prahlad Maharaj. Narad Muni spoke the message of Srimad Bhagavatam to 𝗪𝗏. But 𝗪𝗏 did not hear. And Prahlad, who was in the womb of 𝗪𝗏, he heard. He heard, but mother did not hear. And the reason is that because the mother was in so much of anxiety. She was taken away by Indra. She was kidnapped by Indra. And she was so much afraid, that Indra will come back and he'll kidnap me again. And I'm away from my husband. Who will protect me? Because she was in so much of mental trauma, though she heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Narad Muni, she could not absorb it. But Prahlad Maharaj, who was in the womb of the mother, he absorbed the message. There in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, for those who are very disturbed in mind, they cannot hear well. And Sanjaya, knowing this science, first of all removes the fear from the mind of Dhritarashtra. His fear is, my son will not fight, right? So he's removing that. No, Sanjaya and Vidura are not the same. They're different persons. Sanjaya and Vidura are different persons, right? Vidura was a brother of Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya is a secretary, servant of Dhritarashtra. All right. So here now we proceed with our verse 2 reading. I'll share the screen. It helps to go through. Verse number 2. Sanjaya uvacha Drishtva tu pandavanekam vyulam duryodhanastata acharyam upasangamya raja vachanam 𝗹𝗶𝗹𝗹. Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher. Which teacher? Dronacharya, and spoke the following words, right? So Duryodhana, he went to the teacher. Why he went to the teacher? It's given in the purport. I'm not going to read this. I hope you have read it before already. If you have not read it, you'll read it after the class. Okay. I'm not going to read all the purports line by line. Next, text number 3. And now Duryodhana has gone to Dronacharya. And what does he do after going to Dronacharya? He says, Pashyatang Pandu Putranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum. Pashya means see. See. He's telling his teacher, see, look at them. Look at whom? Look at Pandu Putranam. Look at the sons of Pandu. What is he trying to do? He's trying to make Dronacharya angry. He's trying to make Dronacharya angry. What is he doing? He's telling, he's pointing. Look at these rascals. They learn from you how to fight, and now they have come to fight with you. They learn from you how to fight, and now they have come to fight with you. Look at them. Pashyatam Panduputranam. They are so ungrateful. They should not fight with the Guru. They should not fight, but they have come to fight. Look at them. Acharya Mahatim Chamum. And they have brought such a huge army. Actually, Duryodhana was scared when he looked at the army of Pandavas. He did not think that Pandavas will bring such a huge army. He thought Pandavas will bring some little small troops. But such a huge army, when he saw, his eyes were falling out. Such a huge army. He was scared. But he cannot show his fear. No, he is a king. How can he say that I'm afraid? He cannot say that. He cannot show his fear. But his fear is coming out in the form of surprise, shock. Vyudham Drupada Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata. Oh my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. He's saying that this army has been very nicely arranged by your disciple, the son of Drupada. You all know this story? You know this story, right? It's given in the purport also. You know this story, right? That Drupada and Dronacharya were friends, and then there was some kind of argument between them. Drupada insulted Dronacharya, and then Dronacharya thought, in the future I'll take revenge. He thought like that. He took the revenge actually, and then Drupada wanted to take another revenge. So he performed a sacrifice. From that sacrifice, Drishtadyumna was born, Draupadi was born, and when Drishtadyumna was born, there was a voice from the sky that this boy will be the cause of the death of Dronacharya. Right? Now everyone knows this. Everyone knows that Drishtadyumna is born to kill Dronacharya. Everyone knows that. Still, after this happens, Drupada tells his son Drishtadyumna, go to the ashram of Dronacharya, join his Gurukul and become his student. And Dronacharya knows that this boy is born to kill me. Still Dronacharya accepts him as a student. Still he accepts him as a student. Right? So Prabhupada mentions, that's how a Brahmana is. That's how a Brahmana is. A Brahmana is very liberal. And Dronacharya was a Brahmana. But Duryodhana is such a nonsense student. He is telling, my dear teacher, you are a fool. Why did you accept Drishtadyumna as your student? Why did you accept Drishtadyumna as your student? Now see, your student is fighting on my enemy's side. He has arranged all this army. You should be intelligent, no? When you knew that this boy is born to kill you, why did you teach him? Why did you teach him? So we understand something about Duryodhana also now. That Duryodhana is very quick in passing comments, even to superiors, passing remarks and comments, right? He's telling his teacher, my dear teacher, your student is very intelligent. So indirectly he's telling the teacher, you are a fool. You are a fool. He learned from you and now he's fighting against you. Right? So this shows us a difference between Arjuna and Duryodhana. Arjuna never spoke like this to his teachers. Right? He never spoke like this. But Duryodhana is speaking like this because he's very, very diplomatic person. Okay. Read further. Next verse. Atra shura maheshvasa bhimarjuna samayuti yudhano viratascha drupadascha maharatha. Here in this army are many heroic women, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. Great fighters like Yudhana, Virata and Drupada. So now what Duryodhana is doing, he is naming the different warriors on the side of the Pandavas. Calling out their names. That on the side of the Pandavas there is Bhima, there is Arjuna, there is Yudhana, there is Virata, there is Drupada. These are great fighters. Like that, he is naming the fighters on the other side. So, Srila Prabhupada writes, even though Drishtadyumna was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, there were many others who were causes of fear. They are mentioned by Duryodhana as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory, because each and every one of them as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna, and thus he compared the others with them. Who are these personalities? Bhima is the second Pandava. He is the second eldest. Arjuna is the third eldest Pandava. Right? Yudhana is another name of Satyaki, who was a student of Arjuna. Satyaki. Right? Then Virata is the king of a neighboring kingdom whose daughter got married to Abhimanyu. Virata's daughter was Uttara. She got married to Abhimanyu, the son of Arjuna. And Drupada is the father of Draupadi, who got married to the 5 Pandavas. Right? So these are the different characters of Mahabharata. Next verse. Drishtaketushchekitanah kashirajascha viryavan Puruchit kunti bhojascha shaipyascha narapungavaha. There are also great heroic powerful personalities like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashiraja, Puruchit, Kunti Bhoja, Shaipya. Different warriors are named here, right? Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashiraj, Puruchit, Kunti Bhoj, Shaipya. Who is Kunti Bhoj? Kunti Bhoj is the father of Kunti. Kunti got the name Kunti from this personality, Kunti Bhoj. Actually, Kunti was a daughter of Maharaj Surasena, who is the father of Vasudeva. And Surasena has Kunti Bhoj as his cousin brother. Because Kunti Bhoj did not have a child, Surasena gave Kunti to Kunti Bhoj. Okay. So Surasena had given Kunti the name Pritha. Actually, originally the name of Kunti is Pritha. But when Pritha was adopted by Kunti Bhoj, she got the name Kunti. She got the name Kunti. And Kshatriya. So interestingly, Srila Prabhupada mentions that this king Kshatriya was the ruler of the country called Siberia, the present day Siberia. So in Mahabharata war, people came from far distance. People came from Australia, people came from Turkey, people came from Siberia, people came from different parts of the world to fight in that battle. It was a world war, Mahabharata, world war. Huge war actually, right? Next. Yudhamanyuscha vikranta uttamaujascha viryavan saubhadro 𝗹𝗶𝗹𝗹 sarvaeva maharataha. There are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the powerful, very powerful Uttamauja, the son of Subhadra. Who is the son of Subhadra? Abhimanyu, right? And the sons of Draupadi. How many sons Draupadi had? 5 sons she had, right? She had 5 sons, one from each of the Pandavas. She had 5 sons. All these warriors are great chariot fighters, very great fighters. The word used here is Maharatha. Maharatha means what? A person who can fight with 10,000 warriors at one time, at the same time, can fight with 10,000 warriors. That's called Maharatha. You can imagine how powerful these people were. They can fight with 10,000 warriors at the same time. Maharathas. Such great warriors were there on that battle. So Duryodhana is enlisting the names, counting the names of these different warriors. What happens then? While he's talking like this, all his soldiers become demotivated. That you are talking so nicely about those people. You know, it seems you are scared. It seems you are very much impressed with their power. And Duryodhana, he's a very diplomatic person, so he realizes that I should not talk so much about them. If I talk about them, then my people will get demoralized. You know? So then he changes the subject. Changes the subject. What does he do? Next verse. Asmakam tu vishishtaye tani bodha dvijottama nayaka mama sainyasya sangyarthan tan bhavimite. But for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. He changed the subject now. He's telling, don't worry, on my side also I have great fighters. On my side also I have very great fighters. So then he'll start telling the names of them. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Kripascha Samiting Jayaha Ashwathama Vikarnascha Somadattis Tathevacha. Which are the personalities he mentions? There are personalities like you. You refers to whom here? Dronacharya. Then Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta, called Bhurishrava, who are always victorious in battle. Who all are mentioned here? Dronacharya, Bhishma Pitamaha, Karna, Kripacharya. Ashwathama is the son of Dronacharya. Vikarna is a brother of Duryodhana, and the son of Somadatta, called Bhurishrava. 7 personalities are mentioned. Okay, and Duryodhana is very political. You see, Vikarna was not at all a good fighter. Still, Duryodhana put his name here. Vikarna was not at all a great fighter. He put his name here. You know why? Because Vikarna was the person who objected when Draupadi was being disrobed in the assembly. He was the only person who raised the hand and said, this should not be done. He was the only person. So Duryodhana thought, this person, it seems to me that he has some soft corner for the Pandavas. So in order to not lose him, he is just mentioning his name here, making him one of the great fighters, giving him so much of respect and attention, recognition, that you are also such a great fighter, mentioning his name here. And the son of Somadatta called Purishava. Mahabharata was a very interesting war because the warriors who participated in Mahabharata came from 5 generations. 5 generations. We can only imagine, 5 generations of people fighting on one battlefield. 5 generations. They were fighting on the battlefield. The person who was eldest in that war was Bhishma 400 years. And the person who was youngest in that war was Abhimanyu, 15 years. There's a warrior who is 400-year-old and there's a warrior who is 15 years old. 5 generations of people fighting in that battle. The greatest war that humankind might have seen actually, Mahabharata. Reading further. Anyecha bahava shura madarte tyakta jivitaha nana shastra praharnaha sarva yuddha visharadaha. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons and all are experienced in military science. Reading further. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma virakshitam paryaptam tvitame tesham balam bhima virakshitam. Our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. 11. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu yatha bhagam avasthitaha bhishmameva virakshantu bhavantah sarva evahi. All of you must now give full support to grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. I'll read 2 more verses and then I'll stop. Then we'll take questions. Tasya sanjanayan harsham puruvidha pitamaha simhanadam vinatyochai shankam dadmo pratapavan. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. Right? Bhishma Pitama, he blew the conch shell, indicating that we are ready to fight. We are all prepared to fight. The fight can begin now, signaling that. And when he blew the conch shell, others also followed. Tataha shankascha bheryascha panavanaka gomukhaha sahasaivapyahanyanta sashabdashtu mulo bhavat. After that, the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. So this is how we end the first section of the preparation of war. What did the Kauravas do? Now, what did the Pandavas do? Will come from verse number 14 onwards. That we'll discuss in tomorrow's class. Any questions from today's session? Please ask questions from the session which we had today, not something outside. Then it will be easy to take the questions. Ashok Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. My question is that three qualifications which were mentioned to understand the Gita. The third qualification was control over the senses. My question is, control over the senses. After understanding Gita, we can control our senses, or it is a pre-qualification to understand the Gita? Because in our present form, it is very difficult to control the senses before going for Gita. We are ordinary human beings. So is it not a result of understanding the Gita? So we understand Gita and then control our senses?
Yes, Prabhuji. Good question. So when it says that one of the qualification is one has controlled the senses, we should understand to the degree one has controlled the senses, to that degree one will understand Bhagavad-gita. Right? One who has fully controlled the senses will be given that full understanding of Bhagavad-gita. One who has partially controlled the senses will understand the subject partially.
Okay.
One thing we should understand, one more thing, when it says one has controlled the senses, it means also one who is trying to control the senses. Because sense control is an ongoing thing. It's a process. It's not just a result, it's a process. Right? So one who is trying to control the senses also becomes a qualified student. In fact, to study any subject matter, one has to learn to control the senses. For those who cannot control the senses, they cannot study anything, because they cannot even sit in one place and focus for a long period of time. Right? So to understand Bhagavad-gita properly, one has to control the senses. To the degree we control, to that degree, the message will become understandable to us. Because Bhagavad-gita is a book which instructs people on different levels. There is level A instruction, level B instruction, level C instruction, level D instruction, level E instruction, like that, right? So if I don't practice and bring me to a particular level, then that level of instruction will not become understandable to me. Though that instruction is there, it will not make any sense to me. It will not, it will remain a mystery. Right? So as the sense control increases, then the instruction also becomes clear. How can I follow? So it's an ongoing thing. All right, Prabhu? Okay, thank you. Guru Mai. You can unmute. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, it's mentioned here that Dronacharya is a fully realized Brahmana. Then if he's a fully realized Brahmana, as mentioned in the book, then why he supported the adharmic Duryodhana, and why he chose to fight on his side, and also the Bhishma?
Thank you. So the question is, if Dronacharya is a fully realized Brahmana, why did he choose to fight on the side of the Kauravas? Why did he not choose to fight on the side of the Pandavas? Right? So one answer to that question is, he is a fully realized Brahmana, but he is not a fully realized Vaishnava. Second thing is that Dronacharya had some material attachments. We are not talking about Bhishma, we are talking about Drona first, right? He had some material attachments. He was very attached to his son Ashwatthama. And Ashwatthama was a very close friend of Duryodhana. And because Ashwatthama always took the side of Duryodhana, Dronacharya always took the side of Duryodhana. Okay. And the third reason why he fought on the side of the Kauravas is because Krishna wanted him to fight on the side of the Kauravas. Because if Dronacharya and Bhishma Pitama would not fight on the side of the Kauravas would have no guts to fight the Pandavas. Kauravas would have no guts to fight the Pandavas. Only because of two people, Dronacharya and Bhishma, Duryodhana had the courage to call a battle with the Pandavas. only because of these two people. You know? So Krishna put them in the wrong side so that he can, at the end of the battle, kill all the demonic people in one shot. So that, in that sense, it's the master plan of the Supreme Lord. Right? It's a master plan. Okay, Hassan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class. Please, my question is there any possibility to have access of this class, maybe recorded or?
Oh, yes, yes. All the classes recordings will be shared, Prabhuji. No worries.
Yeah, because like people like us, which we are new to this, sometimes we find it very difficult to understand a lot of things, so we can watch it over again to make some notes and so on.
Yeah, no problem. We'll share the recording. I'll share the slides also.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Go through them again. Right? Kevin.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. I just want to understand the background, of the Bhagavad-gita. Still trying to work out what exactly happened. My understanding is that Dhritarashtra was the rightful king because he was the eldest born son, but for some reason he was not made the king because he was blind, and then his brother was made the king, was the younger brother, but then he died at an early age, and then for some reason he became the king again. Dhritarashtra was made the king.
He was made the
caretaker king. So I understand that the problem here is that the sons obviously think that their father was the rightful king, Dhritarashtra, even though he was blind. So it was under their pretense of, I would understand it, that they were robbed of the kingdom, the Kauravas, even though they were unrighteous. And it was quite a difficult thing to negotiate, especially if the Pandavas were young. What transpired, during that time, and how was the Pandavas supposed to take over the kingdom if Dhritarashtra was the caretaker king? Who was supposed to say, okay?
It's very simple. Dhritarashtra is supposed to be the king, but he's blind, so he's rejected. His younger brother is made the king, who is Pandu, right? Now Pandu is ruling. So if Pandu dies, then who should become the king? The next eldest son in the family should become the king.
Oh, okay.
Isn't it? Correct. Now, who is the next eldest son? It is not Duryodhana, it is Yudhishthira. If you look at the rule also, the law also, the next eldest should become the king. So it is Yudhishthira who is the next eldest. So in two ways, he is the son of Pandu and he is also the eldest. He should become the king, right? But because he is not grown up yet, so they make Dhritarashtra as the caretaker king. That you take care of this property. When Yudhishthira will come of age, then you give it back to Yudhishthira. So it is their rightful claim. It's not that they're claiming what they don't possess. It's their rightful claim. And more than that, because Yudhishthira and his brothers were very, very pious people, religious people, they took good care of the citizens. Even the citizens wanted that Yudhishthira should become the king.
Okay.
But then Duryodhana was not happy with that. So
I can see why he was not happy with that. Obviously, if his father is the king, or the caretaker king, and he being the elder son, Duryodhana was the elder son, am I right?
Yeah.
Then he would have thought he would have been the king. So
correct. And of course, then he has his ego. He wants to get that name and fame and recognition and everything like that. So that's why he doesn't want to let go. Doesn't want to let go.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Now it makes sense.
Hare Krishna. Govardhan Dai Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Pranams. Prabhu, my question is if you can explain us more in details the fact that Duryodhana was realized Brahmana, but he was not a realized Vaishnava.
Dronacharya, you said. Prabhu.
Dronacharya, yes, Dronacharya. Thank you.
So it is mentioned by Acharyas in the commentaries that Dronacharya was a very exalted personality. He was a Brahmana, and because of that, because of being a Brahmana, he had control over his senses, control over his mind. He had also perfected the process of Ashtanga Yoga. So he was a yogi, and that is the reason, he left his body by his own. He was not killed, actually. He sat down in meditation and then he left his body. And then the dead body was chopped off by Drishtadyumna, the head was chopped off. So in that regards, it's mentioned by Vaishnava Acharyas that he had taken the process of Ashtanga Yoga, not Bhakti Yoga, to become self-realized. So we do understand that element of yoga was present in him, but because bhakti was not present, the heart was not fully purified. Heart of a conditioned soul can become purified completely only by the process of bhakti, taking to the process of bhakti. And Dronacharya had not practiced that process. So he was a realized Brahmana. He had become a perfected soul also in terms of yogic practices. But he had not realized the principles of Vaishnava Dharma, that I am an eternal servant of Lord Krishna. So that was there for Dronacharya. At the same time, we should know one more thing, that all these characters in Mahabharata, they are permanent characters of Mahabharata. Which means what? Whenever they come, whenever Mahabharata happens, they play their role. So Dronacharya comes always and plays this role. So in that way, they are very special people in the part of, in the plan of Lord Krishna coming and playing a role. Within that drama setup, then they take up different roles. One takes the role of a pure devotee, one takes the role of a materialistic person, one takes the role of a yogi, one takes the role of a brahmana, one takes the role of this, that. So when we are analyzing characters here in our study, we are analyzing them from the roles they take, not from, their eternal role. In eternal, if you see, they talk of eternal role, then they are all fully into Krishna's pastime, playing their role. We are just looking at their external role. So externally speaking, Dronacharya is a perfected Brahman. Externally speaking, if you look at it externally, right? If you look at it from the outlook or the angle of vision that they are participating in Krishna's pastimes, then they are all devotees of Krishna. They are all devotees of Krishna, just playing the good role or the bad role. That's all. Like Duryodhana, who is he? He is an eternal associate of Lord Balaram. He's an eternal associate of Lord Balaram. He's playing the bad role here, but he's an eternal associate of Lord Balaram. Just playing the bad role. So we understand that way. I hope it helps you, Ruchi. And you asked for the reference of the three qualities which we mentioned from Baladeva Vidyabhushana Prabhu, right? So Baladeva Vidyabhushana Prabhu mentions those three qualities in his introduction to his commentary on Bhagavad-gita. In Gita-bhushana, in his introduction, he writes those three qualities. When he mentions the four topics called Chatushta Anubandha, the four topics, in that one of the things is qualification of the student. So there he mentions the three qualities of a student. Baladeva Vidyabhushana Prabhu does that in his introduction. Okay, Sita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So my question is,
Dronacharya is a Brahmana and at the same time Kshatriya, and he's a Kshatriya because of his attachment to his son.
No, he is a Brahmana who is supposed to teach how to fight, but not supposed to fight. See, he's a Brahmana who is supposed to teach how to fight, but he is not supposed to fight.
So he did, but he was in the war.
But he was in the war, so that was wrong. Right? Like he's a Brahmana, so he has to teach how to fight, but he cannot fight because he's not a Kshatriya. He's only supposed to teach how to fight. Right? But then he's fighting, so that's wrong. Like, to give an example, a Brahmana will teach the king how to rule, but the Brahmana will not become the king. Right? So a Dronacharya is supposed to teach how to fight, but he's not supposed to fight, but he's fighting because he's attached. He's taking the role of a Kshatriya. Yes, Mataji. Okay, thank you. Sannivas Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranams. Prabhuji, this Paramatma, for the question what we discussed, Bhagavad-gita can't, why Bhagavad-gita can't be understood, is there a possibility like, does Paramatma within the heart does not allow to understand the knowledge even in Bhagavad-gita? Is there any possibility like sometimes?
Yes. Paramatma will not allow. For those who are not qualified, Paramatma will not allow them to understand the message.
When we go into preaching movement, then when we see why that person is not listening, this may be also a possibility, right?
Yes, it is because that person is not qualified, so then that person will not receive the message. But then when Vaishnavas, they interfere in someone's life, then the Lord allows that interference. People in Kali Yuga are not qualified to receive the message of Bhagavad Gita. If they are receiving the message of Bhagavad Gita, it's only because of the mercy of Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas are intruding in their life and giving them message. Otherwise, who has these three qualifications in Kali Yuga? Faith, sense control, following dharma. Who is doing these three things in Kali Yuga? I mean, people don't even know what is dharma. How will they follow dharma? So, but people are getting the message of Bhagavad Gita only because of the mercy of Vaishnavas. Only because of that. Smriti Karunama.
Hare Krishna Prabhupada. Prabhuji, how is it that Dhritarashtra was not eligible to become a king, but he was eligible to become a caretaker king? What is the difference between a king and a caretaker?
He was not eligible to become king, and he was also not really qualified to become a caretaker, but there was no option. No?
Okay, Bhishma was not there in the option.
Bhishma Pitama has said no.
So he has pledged not to take the throne.
Bhishma Pitama had already taken a vow. I will not. If Bhishma Pitama would not have taken that vow, there could be no better king than Bhishma Pitama. Right? So there was, and Dhritarashtra had this strong desire. He wanted to be the king, somehow or other. Okay, Paramita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, in verse 1.6, it is mentioned as Yudhamanyu, the son of Subhadra. So I want to know that is
not Yudhamanyu. Yudhamanyu is different. So son of Subhadra is Abhimanyu. They are two different. Yudhamanyu and son of Subhadra are two different people. Okay. Son of Subhadra is Abhimanyu.
Yudhamanyu is not equal to Abhimanyu.
Not equal, not different.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Rajat Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam. Prabhuji, my question is that all the characters in the Mahabharata, they are basically all who have come with the Lord to show us what is going to happen in Kali Yuga. My understanding of Mahabharata is that still Mahabharata took place, things were okay, but it was a Leela of the Lord to show what is going to happen in Kali Yuga?
Yes. Mahabharata is to show us what will happen in Kali Yuga.
That means all the people were actually playing a character, and actually nobody was bad or good. They were all, in fact, with the Lord in his thing and came along with him.
Not like that, you see. When Lord comes, no, that is a very different subject in itself, because different kinds of people join in. Some people, they join in as eternal associates of the Lord. But some people are new recruitments also. So it's not so easy. It's a big subject in itself. Some people, they always join, they have a particular role to play and they'll always play. But some people are new recruitments also.
Okay, Prabhu.
Right. So, but one thing is sure, we don't take them as ordinary characters. You know, even if they are doing the right thing or the wrong thing, we understand they are not ordinary characters, because they are being used by the Lord to teach to the greater world. They are being used.
Yes, Prabhu.
Whether they are playing the good role or the bad role. So we don't start, glorifying them. This doesn't mean that now we start going out and shouting the slogans that Ravana is actually a devotee, he's a hero, he has all the good qualities. Actually, he's just playing the role of a demon. We don't do that.
Yes, Prabhu.
Ravana is there, then Ravana is bad. Duryodhana is there, he is bad. Right? We take them in that way only. But then we don't do it in a manner that we are offensive towards them.
Okay, Prabhu.
Correct?
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Srinivas Gopal. Srinivas Gopal. Cannot hear you. Okay, you have put the question already. What kind of faith we should have to understand Bhagavad-gita?
Prabhu, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Prabhuji, my question is Kripacharya is a Kauravas priest, but how he came to war, and he is mentioned here as a Maharata also, like.
Okay, Kripacharya is a priest, but he also knows how to fight, so he's fighting.
Priest fight at that time?
No, priests don't fight at that time. But there are some brahmanas, they have knowledge of different departments. So he knows how to fight also.
Also, he was left in the Mahabharata till the end. Also, he was alive.
He did not die.
But whereas Dronacharya was killed.
Dronacharya was killed. 7 people survived on the side of Pandavas, and 3 people survived on the side of Kauravas. After that great war, only 10 people remained. 7 on Pandava's side, 3 on Kauravas side. Only 10 people remained.
Another thing, Prabhuji, how Satyaki ended up in the Pandava's side? Because Satyaki, yeah.
Satyaki was from Dwarka. He was a bodyguard of Lord Krishna.
But he is part of Narayana Sena, no?
No, because he was a disciple of Arjuna. He said, "I will not fight on the side of Kauravas."
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Satyaki was a best disciple of Arjuna. Satyaki.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. But I was thinking he's also part of Narayana Sena. So
no. He said, "I will not fight for the Kauravas." Actually, it is mentioned in Mahabharata that Satyaki was more fast in shooting arrows than Arjuna.
Yes.
He was such a great fighter.
Satyaki. I think he saved Satyaki from Burishrava, I think, no? By cutting the hand.
Arjuna. He saved Arjuna. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Anju Mataji.
My question is already answered. Prabhuji, I wanted to ask about Satyaki only. And so it's already answered. Thank you so much. So he was also a charioteer of Lord Krishna?
He was also a charioteer of Lord Krishna. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the wonderful class.
Okay, we have one more question. Did Duryodhana go back to Krishna's abode after death? If yes, why? No, Duryodhana did not go to Golok Vrindavan. Right? Duryodhana did not go to Golok Vrindavan. And when you say Krishna's abode, then there are different kinds of abodes Krishna has. One is Golok Vrindavan. In that Duryodhana cannot have entrance. But then Krishna have other abodes also in Vaikuntha. There are different places where Krishna, in different forms, he exists. So if Duryodhana is an eternal associate of the Lord, he must be there. If he's not an eternal associate, then he cannot be there. Right? It depends on which Duryodhana comes to join the Lord's pastime. Why did Duryodhana not take Lord Krishna's name? We'll discuss this tomorrow. Okay. All right, so thank you so much for the participation, and I know today is a difficult day. Some of you are already fainting because of fasting. So wish you all the best. Still half more day to go. It's 3 o'clock in India, 7-8 hours still left in India, and for others, I don't know how much time is left. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada.